Welcome to Beyond the Campfire, the Dead by Daylight podcast, where we dive into the stories, secrets, and strategies behind the horrors and heroes within the fog. My name's Dogbomb, and I am joined by my co-host, Lemon. Hello, Lemon. How are you?
Hi, Dogbomb. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not that tired.
What?
My watch this week, my fitness watch said I've been sleeping really well. So I don't know what I'm doing, but apparently I'm doing the right things.
That is breaking news.
Breaking news, I know.
What is this? This is episode 19.
This is episode 20. Can you believe it?
Well, yeah, including our extra episode, right?
No, this is episode 21, including our other episode. Can you believe it?
No.
For the listeners at home, we just had to have a 30-second break while Lemon checked that we are up to episode 20. But we're up to episode 20. It is, it's very exciting. We've been doing this for 20 weeks. Did you think we'd get this far?
No.
Neither did I. I thought we'd be at each other's throats after week 2.
Well, me too. Well, we did, but
yeah, we kind of did.
We powered through.
What was your question last week, Lemon?
My question last week was if you had ever been in the military.
I have not been in the military. Have you ever been in the military?
No, but I thought about it when I was 18.
My dad almost forced me to go into the military.
Oh.
Yeah. Why did you think about it? What made you not do it?
Well, I thought about it because both my parents, so my mom and dad, were both soldiers. So that's why I thought about it. And also my granddad and so on.
I thought about it because I didn't get the grades I needed to get to university. And my dad said, now you've failed everything, you need to call the army and ask them to sign you up because you're going to get nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah, I still got into university.
Well, my parents kind of talked me out of it. So.
My question was about survivors with vices. Would you like to see more survivors in the game with flaws?
That was a big question.
Very big question. What do you think?
I feel like it depends on the degree of flaws.
Okay.
Like, do I want an heroin addict or coke or whatever it's called? No. But I wouldn't be like, oh my God, if there was somebody who smoked weed once in a while, even though I had never tried it myself. But yeah,
it's a bit of a horror movie trope that young teenage people have sex and smoke and do all this kind of morally bad stuff.
Drinking?
And they're the ones that get killed. Drinking, yeah, and they're the ones that get killed in the thing, and it's like the virginal scream queen blonde who doesn't get killed, and she's the one who survives till the end.
But yeah, but for me that is American eyes to look at things. Because what you're telling me there, it's just me at 14 camping in the woods with my friends and bringing beer and cigarettes.
So technically you would die first in a horror movie.
No, because I'm a Viking.
Well,
there is so many things in this world that only happens to, and I'm so sorry for those listening, but it only happens to American teenagers.
Well,
it's weird. It's fucked up.
It's also just the movies. We can just dream and think about movies.
They do make more movies over there than we do.
Lemon, we have had loads and loads and loads of comments this week on our Spotify. to the point that I don't think we can read all of the comments out. But what I would like to do is anyone who commented on last week, I'm going to read theirs out, and then I'll do a brief overview of the other comments that we've had, or anything that's kind of important. So people who commented on last week's episode, which was Bill's, we got a comment from Fanboy, Fanboy XE, who said, "Hi, nice pod. At this point, all I talk about is TBD." That's the VR game that we talked about, if you remember. So I'm going to talk about something else. And then he said, "Just kidding. I will never change. So here's some TBD stuff." First, unfortunately, TBD is a VR game, and for some reason, VR is full of toxic children. So if you want to play public, you can turn off voice chat via settings, but there is an important communication part of the game, so you might have to bear the racist 8-year-olds. But if you want the best experience, you should play with friends in a private. And I think that's me out. I think the phrase "bear the racist 8-year-olds" has kind of talked me out of ever playing the game.
Yeah.
Life's too short to spend time dealing with 8-year-olds in my fun time.
And I'm scared of children, so.
Yeah, and I don't think we've got enough friends to play in private at the moment. We have got a bunch who've got VR, but yeah. So thank you, Fanboy, for pointing it in our direction, but I don't think it's really for us.
No, it
to be
looked really
honest.
interesting, but
It did.
if the user group of the game, the players, if that they change to like older people, please let us know, because then we might give it a try. But yeah, I'm scared of children, so that's the most terrifying thing I know.
We got a comment from Drunk David, who said, "Movie buddy reporting for duty. I haven't seen the movies." This is the movies that we're talking about this week, right? We'll talk about that later. And then he said, "I've played so much Left 4 Dead 2 with pals a few years ago. They also have a really cool versus mode where there are 4 survivors and 4 special infected where you get to play as the zombies. I'd be up for some games." Yes, but to clarify, I think we want to play the first one because that's the one with Bill in. So at some point we'll play the first Left 4 Dead.
The movie buddy thing is because Drunk David and Dark Chocolate have been really good at watching movies with me when I feel like they could be a bit too scary.
Yeah.
But again, we're watching them at times a day where it's daylight outside, so they're not really that scary. But I love having movie buddies.
And then we got a comment last week's from Kathy. Kathy said, "We forgive you, Lemon. Just glad you are better." And then 3 kisses, which is nice. Kathy also said that they've never played the game. I'm guessing that's Left 4 Dead. They've never been in the military. And they said, "Yes, I agree. The more flawed the character, the better, I'd say, especially in this game." So Kathy's on my side with flawed characters, I think. Also, it made me giggle because we know Kathy outside of this podcast, and we know that Kathy just consumes media in blocks. And Kathy obviously listened to the Hag episode. And I don't know if you remember the questions we asked on the Hag episode, but Kathy just commented, "Dry, an old mansion."
Ooh, for me, it was if they were slimy or dry.
And for me, maybe it was a location in the game. I don't remember, but "dry and old mansion" was my favorite comment this week. So thank you, Kathy. You win comment of the week. We had a comment from Isaac Bailey on the Cannibal episode. And Isaac actually says on there, "Sorry for my late comments. I'm always late, especially for skill checks." No. Please, honestly, keep your comments coming. If ever anybody says anything kind of interesting or something comes up, we will mention it. And I'll try to maybe condense the comments down. But write as much as possible. We love to see it, and it's great. You may be listening to this weeks and weeks and weeks after, but we still love to see the comments.
And we love and read all comments. Even if we don't reply, we have read it and talked about it and appreciated it.
Absolutely. And interestingly, Isaac says in response to the question on the Cannibal episode, I would love more anime collabs as they did extremely well with the Ghoul and the Attack on Titan outfit. Ooh, foreshadowing for later in the episode. And then we had 3 comments. Again, another person who absolutely has just gone through our content this week from someone called Disco DH, who has just been really kind, who is obviously a killer main. They mentioned playing as the Hag, they've mentioned playing as the Doctor, and they said on their latest, which was David, they must have gotten to, "Hey, Dogbomb and Lemon, sorry for the delay on this. I've been working my way through the podcast from the beginning. We don't mind. That's perfect. Thank you. Loving the podcast, and thanks for the mention on the podcast. And you have your second mention on the podcast. Wow! So yeah, thank you so much
Yay.
for the comments, and thank you for all the kind words.
And we love you for loving the podcast.
Yeah, we do. We do. Maybe you'll get a third mention soon enough. Let's hold our fingers
Ooh.
crossed. What have you been playing this week, Lemon?
Oh, I feel like I've done a lot of adulting this week. So I've played a bit of Dead by Daylight, but not
I don't feel like I've played with you very much this week.
much. No, I don't. No. I have been a boring grown up. Sorry.
I feel like you've been in hiding for most of the week.
What have you been playing, Dogbomb?
I've been playing some Dead by Daylight, obviously. I did more Ace on my stream. I've played more Repo on stream, and I've played more Hitman. I'm pretty much locked in on those 3 games at the moment. Ace, Dead by Daylight, Repo, Hitman. But it's been fun. We did just play a couple of games before we came on live, though. But we can talk about those as I talk about the news this week, of which there isn't that much. There's a little bit of news around the Grimoire. They've been answering questions over on Reddit about the Grimoire, and then nothing until now. And now it is 2 versus 8. It is a brand new Rift Pass. It is Attack on Titan. There's that mention again of the Attack on Titan skins. And it is Alien skins as well. All come out at the same time on the 28th of April. Just so much content today. So much stuff has come out. And we've played a couple of games of 2 versus 8 before we started recording. How did you find it?
Well, I always loved 2 versus 8. I feel like it's really, really fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I will be playing more for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, me too. I think as well, it allows me to go on other streamers' streams. I might have some open lobbies as
I might join you then.
You might join me. It's just a fun time, and it's so chaotic. I watched Slate today, and he said it's more fun if you don't take it very tactically and you just lean into the chaos. So you just unhook, jump on the first gen you see, have a daft chase around, and just lean into the chaos of it all.
Exactly.
Something cool they have added, though, which I think is worth mentioning, is the play while you queue. They brought that back for 2 versus 8, but they've also rolled that over to 1 versus 4. So in the regular queue, you can now play a game while you are queuing as killer, which I think will help both queues. I think that's a good thing.
Are the killer queues really that long on normal games?
When there's a special event on, yeah, normal games
Okay.
take a hit because of that.
Yeah. Aw. But I do love that there's no more blood gens.
And I do love that Legion is still banned. Hooray!
Oh, best news ever. Oh, I have one last thing.
Go on.
And if we just made an Instagram, so if you follow us on Instagram, you have already seen this. But I got a message from Dead by Daylight saying it has been 3 years since I entered the fog.
Oh.
So that gives kind of a timeline. When Dogbomb says it's before your time, Lemon, then it's 3 years ago from now. Boom.
That is a good timeline. But yeah, so I haven't had one of those emails, and I think it's because I played a lot earlier than that and then forgot about the game. So I'll be interested to see if I get one of those emails saying congratulations on 8 years or whatever it will be.
Yeah.
Anyway, this week it's all about the sleep, the snares, and the sudden appearances of the nightmare. Lemon is about to lead us through the lore and the backstory of the nightmare. However, this does touch very briefly on issues around child abuse. So if you find that triggering at all, please look in the show notes for skipping this section.
So over the last 19 episodes, we have learned that some killers chases you, some set traps, some rely on strength or speed or fear. But this week's killer doesn't need any of that. He will be waiting for the one thing we all do. We fall asleep. Today we are talking about the nightmare, also known as Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger was introduced in Chapter 6, A Nightmare on Elm Street, on the 26th of October 2017. And he is based on the movie Nightmare on Elm Street, but not the version people talk about or even joke about. This is the 2010 version. And this one feels a little too close to something real. So to understand why this version feels so different, we have to look at the movie from 2010. It isn't a fun remake. It doesn't try to charm you. It's not even a good remake. And Freddy, in this version, just feels wrong. Like, this didn't start as a nightmare. It started somewhere real. And then it followed people into their dreams. So let's talk about where this version of Freddy actually comes from. Before everything with the dreams, Freddy Krueger was a groundkeeper at a preschool. And on the surface, he looked normal. Like someone the children trusted. Someone they could play with. Someone who was just there for them. And then it is where it gets uncomfortable. In the 2010 version, it's revealed that Freddy had been abusing the children at the preschool. He had a close connection to Nancy. She was kind of his favorite. And that just makes the whole thing feel even more personal. At first, it almost seems like maybe he was wrongly accused in the movie. That is the feeling you get. Like the adults might have misunderstood something. But then things starts to line up. The children talks. There are marks. Scratches on their skin, on their clothes. And they all match Freddy's glove. And that is when everything changes. The parents don't go through a trial. They don't wait. They just take it into their own hands. They track Freddy down to a building where he's hiding, and he locks himself inside. One of the parents throw some gasoline in a bottle with some burning cloth into the building, and it goes up in flames. Freddy ends up dying inside that building. The reason they did it, the parents, was to protect their children from having to go through a trial, to stand in court and relive everything. But that doesn't end it, because Freddy comes back. Not as a man, but as something else. Like a vengeful dream ghost. And instead of going after the parents, he goes after the children. He does this in their dreams, one by one. And that is where the real horror starts to kick in, because there's nowhere for them to be safe anymore. Towards the end, Nancy actually managed to pull Freddy out of the dream world into the real world. And for a moment, it looks like she wins. She cuts off his gloved hand, slashes his throat. But Freddy doesn't really follow the rules, because even after that, he's still there. And in that final moment, he kills Nancy's mother. So, I was thinking about why is he even in the game? So to go back to Dead by Daylight, why did Behavior decide to include a character like Freddy? Is it because he's iconic? Or horror history matters in a game like this? Then my issue is this version of Freddy Krueger. I feel like it's hard to separate what his backstory is compared to put him into a computer game. But he is a part of Dead by Daylight. And in the game, you're dealing with the mechanics, sleep, control, pressure. But the story behind him is still there. And once you know it, it's hard to fully ignore it. Sleep is supposed to be safe. It's where you need to rest. But he turns it into danger. You're afraid of needing to sleep, and that's something you can't avoid forever. You can fight it, you can stay awake, but your body will win. And that is where he will be waiting. In the fog. So now, Dogbomb, I'm curious to hear what you think about him being a character in the game.
I hate it.
Thank you.
So Freddy Krueger is my all-time favorite horror character.
Yeah.
I love the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I hate this remake. I went to see it at the cinema and absolutely detested it. They've took all the... Freddy's a horrible character, right? There's no denying it. His backstory in the original is the same backstory as the thing, but they just don't dwell on that in the original. Whereas in the
original,
remake,
it's more like he is just, well, just is the wrong word.
Yeah.
But that he is a child killer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But in the new one, it's more like he is a molester. Yeah.
And they do touch on that in the originals as well, but to a lesser degree. And they also make him out to be this kind of dream character, which is playing with the fun idea of dreams. And some of the way he kills people in the original, the way he messes with people's heads is so over the top and so silly. It makes him a kind of comedy character, which, you know, as a young boy watching horror films growing up, you just want a bit of fun watching a movie. You don't want to be like thinking about real world consequences. And so, yeah, I really, really rated him as a killer. I really rated Robert Englund as an actor as well, because he would do a lot of charity work. He would get a lot of young people in who had seen him and who were scared of him, and he would take the makeup off in front of them and stuff. I remember seeing all of this when I was younger, and I always thought that was cool as well. The fact that he really he realized that he embodied this character, but he wanted to show people it was just an act and all of that. So yeah, I really, really grew to love Freddy Krueger. So the fact that he's in the game is ace, but the fact that it's the remake is the worst thing in the world.
Yeah,
it's such a horrible character
it
design.
had been the 1984 version of the movie that they had put into the game, and not the 2010 version.
Mm-hmm. But they failed on every count here, because they've put the remake Freddy in, which is awful. He's not particularly scary in the game, and we're not going to talk about them till next week. But there is an iconic survivor with Freddy. The iconic survivor is Nancy from the original, and then who was replaced by a different Nancy in the remake. That's the iconic character. They didn't get the rights to that either, so it's just a massive fail for me. However, he is mildly interesting in terms of his power and stuff, so I guess we should talk about that.
I only have one more note on my piece of paper, and that is that in America, there is between 4,000 and 5,000 Elm Streets. Think about living there.
Freddy, the Nightmare of Elm Street. So his full name is Freddy Charles Krueger. In terms of Dead by Daylight, he's all about passive pressure and map control. Survivors are pulled into a dream world over time, or if they get hit, they're pulled into it instantly. And when they're asleep, they are vulnerable to Freddy's abilities. They lose their awareness, and the terror radius is replaced with a lullaby. There are dream snares, there are dream pallets, fake safety, dream projection. There's a lot of dreaming is what I'm saying. Get used to the word dream. I'm going to mention it a lot over the next coming minutes. You can wake yourself up, but it costs you time and attention, which is time away from gens. He's not a particularly fast chaser, but he does make the entire map a much worse place to be. You know I love my trivia. I love firsts. Freddy doesn't have many firsts. Even though he's quite early in the roster, he doesn't have that many firsts. The big first that he has is he was the first killer who got a major rework of their power. So he came in weak, and they had to rework him to make him more powerful. The other interesting thing, there's not that much interesting about Freddy, but the other interesting thing is he is the quietest breather out of all of the killers. That's it. That's the bottom line there.
That is so good to know. Thank you.
Well, it's the same volume apparently as the survivors, which is kind of interesting, right? means that he can't be heard. However, he is the quietest breather. He has a really distinctive laugh, so you tend to know quite early if you're with Freddy. Rah, 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 rah. His little laugh. His power is called Dream Demon. The nightmare, when they are awake, is invisible. If he's further than 32 meters away, he is intermittently visible if he's 16 to 32 meters away, and he is fully visible if he is within 16 meters. That's when awake. Here's something I didn't know. There is a special state in the game called micro sleep. That is the thing that sends you to sleep. I didn't realize it was called micro sleep. If you wake yourself up with an alarm clock, you are protected from micro sleep for 30 seconds. However, you can fall asleep. So if you fall asleep, you will automatically enter the dream world. When you are in the dream world, the penalty of interacting with dream traps is different. You will trigger killer instinct when you are performing healing or being healed. So you should be waking up before you get healed or healing. You are also oblivious when you're asleep, which means that you hear a lullaby. You just hear the sounds of Freddy. You don't have any kind of sense as to where that's coming from. If Freddy hits you when you are awake with a basic attack, you will be straight into the dream world, unless you are temporarily immune because of an alarm clock. The ways of waking up. You can fail a skill check. If you bang a gen, you will fail that. It will make a loud noise. You will wake up. You can have an awake survivor wake you up by doing interaction for 5 seconds. You can interact with an alarm clock to wake yourself up. Or if you go into the dying state, you will automatically wake up as well. Freddy has dream traps. I told you the word dream was going to be mentioned a lot. The two dream traps are dream snares and dream pallets. You can switch between the two as you play. When you have your dream snare, you can charge it up and you can launch it forwards. It reduces your speed slightly. It has a range of 18. It can go through walls and go up slopes, but cannot go off ledges. When it hits survivor, if they are awake, their micro sleep is advanced by 30 seconds. If they are asleep, they will be hindered for 4.5 seconds. So it's a way of slowing them down with your dream snares. His other dream trap is the dream pallets. You can create up to 8 dream pallets at a time. You go into focus mode and you drop a dream pallet at any valid location within 24 meters. When you target a dream pallet, you can rupture it. And it has an area of effect around it. And if a survivor is within that area of effect, if they're awake, it will advance their micro sleep by 60 seconds. If they are asleep, it will inflict damage on them. Survivors can drop a dream pallet and attempt to stun the nightmare. And if they drop a dream pallet, it instantly is destroyed and it explodes in blood. You can kind of see these dream pallets in game as a survivor. They are kind of shimmering with red. So if you are keeping your wits about you, you can know which pallets are dream pallets. He also has a special way of transporting across the map, and that is with his dream projection. There's that word again, dream. He can teleport to any generator in the environment, regardless of its state. And he can also teleport within 8 to 12 meters of any asleep survivors who are involved in a healing action, which is why you need to wake up before you heal. Oh, if you teleport using your dream projection, if any survivors are within 8 meters, it will advance their micro sleep timer by 15 seconds this time. If they are asleep or awake, it will also trigger killer instinct, so Freddy knows where you are when he comes out of his teleport phase. There are a bunch of add-ons for his power. Again, there are the usual number changes, making the dream snares bigger, cooldowns smaller, etc. But there are some interesting ones. On the Eerie front, he has two. He has the red paintbrush. That will show you the auras of anyone who is further than 32 meters away, who is in the dream state, who is in the asleep state. It's like a constant barbecue and chili, I guess. The black box is the other Eerie, and that causes the exit gates to be blocked for any asleep survivors for 15 seconds after they're opened. It's like a mini version of one of his actual perks, which is kind of fun. And we'll talk about that perk when we get to it. He has a few other interesting ones. Class Photo is a purple add-on, which grants the ability to project to the exit gate switches at the end game. And anyone who is opening an exit game will trigger Killer Instinct. So you will know at the end game. He does have one called the Blue Dress, which is a blue add-on, which reduces your dream snares to 1, but you can place them down to be stationary and they will disappear after 8 seconds. So you can place those down a little bit like Trappers to get people to run into them during loops and chases. So yeah, some mildly interesting ones. He also has 3 unique perks, which can be shared across killers once you get Freddy to level 1. And those perks are in alphabetical order. The first perk is Blood Warden. Blood Warden is the one that I said is similar to one of his add-ons. And Blood Warden is a highly controversial perk in Dead by Daylight. When at least one exit game is opened, Blood Warden activates. The auras of survivors are revealed when they're inside of the exit gate. And this is something that a lot of survivors forget about Blood Warden, by the way. I've seen so many people die to this. And then once per trial, when you hook a survivor while it's active, all the exit gates are blocked for 60 seconds, which prevents any survivor from leaving out of the trial. So it blocks the second part of the exit gates, which means a lot of survivors then hide in the exit gate, which means their auras are revealed, which means the killer can then go in and just down them and take them over to their hook or their dying state. If you activate Blood Warden in the last quarter of the endgame collapse, it guarantees that everybody remaining in the trial will perish to it. Even if the timer is slowed to half speed by any survivor who's hooked or in dying state. This is something that you see a lot of people trying to do or attempting to do. They will, once a gate is open, they will play out the timer. If someone's downed, they will kind of feign not picking them up for a while with the hope that survivors will try and come in for saves. They're just trying to run down the timer so that they can then hook somebody in the last quarter. So that's something to watch out for if you are thinking that Blood Warden might be a thing. However, that being said, it is one of the most dramatic endgame perks. It's so exciting when it happens, either on the killer side or survivor side. I quite enjoy being Blood Wardened as a survivor. It completely flips a match to the other side if it's played well. And if it's done with the right timing and the right setup, it's so much fun. It's so irritating as survivor to be caught out by it, but it's a very much a fair play, well done, GG, well played kind of thing. I can see Lemon shaking her head. Do you not like this? Do you not like Blood Warden?
Well, who likes that?
I like it. I
No,
think it's good.
the reason I'm shaking my head is because I guess I never really understood the last part of it. I'm so sorry, Dogbomb, for all the games we have played together because that kind of went over my head.
Yeah, so I guess the strategy, this is why people used to 99 gates and why gates weren't open, because it only activates when the gate is opened.
Yeah.
So people used to 99 gates thinking it was Blood Warden, and you still can 99 a gate, but then as soon as somebody goes on hook, really you should be opening it at that point, because that person's already on hook, it won't activate Blood Warden. If
Mm,
somebody then is put on a hook, it does activate Blood Warden.
yeah.
And if the gates are open and somebody gets put on hook quickly, you've still got that whole minute to wait out Blood Warden, but it can still be done.
Mm,
You still can get out. It's when a killer is crafty and keeps somebody slugged or extends a long chase in the end game
yeah.
that you really need to fear it.
But I'm learning too this episode.
We're all learning. We're all learning. It's all about learning. His second perk is Fire Up. For every completed generator, Fire Up gains a token up to a maximum of 5. And it increases the speeds for 6% per token up to a maximum of 30%. It increases the speeds of the following: picking up and dropping survivors, breaking walls and drop pallets, damaging generators, and vaulting windows. So it basically speeds up the killer as the game progresses. It rewards that end game pressure, and it can speed up the tempo of a late game build. We do have some trivia on Fire Up. This was the first perk in the game that affected action speeds for picking up and dropping a survivor. And it was the only perk for years and years until Forever Entwined entered the game, which is Vecna. That's one of his perks. Dice guy, as we call him, Lemon. That Vecna.
Oh, that guy.
Freddy's third perk is Remember Me. Whenever the obsession loses a health state by any means, Remember Me gains a token up to a maximum of 5 tokens. And for every token, it will increase the opening time of the exit gates by 6 seconds to a maximum of 30 seconds. Remember Me does not apply to the obsession, so the obsession can still open an exit gate in the default time of 20 seconds. And you can only be obsessed with one survivor at a time. Remember Me can still gain tokens after the exit gates have power, and it applies immediately. So if somebody's on a gate and the obsession loses a health state, it will immediately start slowing down that gate opening. It's strong endgame slowdown. It punishes teams that are relying on quick gates and synergizes well with endgame builds, which all 3 of Freddy's perks are all about that endgame. All 3 of them are all about once they've completed the trial, kind of popping back up and saying, "Hey, remember me?" That's the name of one of his perks. Remember me? I'm about to fire up on you with my Blood Warden. I mentioned all 3 perks there. I'm dead clever.
Well done.
Thanks. Here are some builds or combinations that you might want to try. Classic Map Pressure Freddy, Deadlock, Pain Res, Fire Up, Corrupt Intervention. Slow down the game, control the generators, build up some pressure. Or maybe you want to be constantly interrupting with that dream projection to the generators with Tinkerer, Discordance, Deadlock, Pain Res, so you know where the action is on the generators at any time. Or perhaps you want to do an end game nightmare. Remember Me, Blood Warden, No Way Out, Fire Up, or maybe even a cheeky Noed. For when those gates are powered, really go to town on the end game nightmare. And I think end game nightmare is the version of Freddy that I've enjoyed playing the most. And had the most success with, especially in the old version of Freddy. I've not played too much of the new Freddy. He is pretty beginner friendly, or at least he used to be. He's a bit more clunky these days, I think, because he's got more going on, but he's a little bit stronger these days. He's still not a top tier killer. He's a good slow down killer, and he's not the strongest in chase, but can sort of give constant pressure across the map. Any experience with Freddy's, Lemon? What are your thoughts?
I don't really mind him as a killer in the game. I do
Mhm,
mind him as a killer, but in the game, um, I do like the new changes they have made,
mhm,
where if you go to sleep, you can use any alarm clock to wake up,
mhm,
so you don't have, like, only one and it's across the map.
mhm,
I
mhm.
do enjoy that a lot. And then
Yeah,
my favorite part about Freddy is how stupid the other survivors look when they are asleep.
they look so silly.
Their faces, like, oh my god. That is my
Yeah,
favorite. I
I
love
I
it.
I love that too. I love that too. I do like there's some things I do like about Freddy in terms of his bit like his design. One is the way the gens start to bleed when he's teleporting at the gens. That's kind of interesting and scary to me.
Yeah, it's
Um,
just annoying.
yeah, I just like that, and I like the fact that you can't really ignore waking up with Freddy. You
Yeah.
have to wake up.
Mm,
With some of the other slowdown killers, like Pig, you can kind of ignore the helmet for
mm.
a while, and then you've got to kind of deal with it. I think with Freddy, I feel like you have to deal with waking up, otherwise it's going to be a regretful time. And I like that with him.
You just reminded me of something big that happened this last week in Dead by Daylight for me.
Go
It
on.
for the first time, I was playing a game against the pig. You were there, and my head blew up. I have never had my head blown up before in 3 years, and it was disappointing.
Pivotal
I
moment.
I I I I wish there was a bit more kaboom and open skull, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was disappointed. Yeah.
Every week, we like to recommend a creator in the Dead by Daylight space. And oh my goodness, it's only the third mention of our friend from the comments, Disco
Oh my
DH.
god.
Oh my Lady Gaga. Yeah, Disco DH in the comments said, um, hey, Dogbomb and Lemon, sorry for the delay on this. I've been working my way through the podcast from the beginning. Loving the podcast, and thanks for the mention on the podcast. My Twitch handle is DiscoDH75. Thank you. So they posted their handle in the comments. They also came into my stream when Lemon was there, and they were saying how much they enjoyed the podcast. Um, so maybe you'll enjoy this episode as well. We are giving you a shout out. They are a brand new streamer. I believe they, at sort of time of recording, they are less than 10 followers. And I'm one of them. I've already followed them. I
Oh,
like
I
to get in
followed
on the,
them too on the day where they were in your chat.
yeah,
They
I
were
like to,
so nice and polite.
They were super polite.
Instant follow.
Yeah, I don't think they've got like a cam set up or anything like that yet, but they are playing a lot of Killer on they're playing a lot of Dead by Daylight, and I will definitely be dropping into a stream soon enough. I love it when people try streaming for the first time.
Yeah. And we
So
all started one place, like.
we absolutely did. So thank you for the kind words, Disco DH, and everybody go check them out, and maybe you'll find the next big thing in streaming. They're at twitch.tv/DiscoDH75. All the links in the show notes. Who is next week's episode about, Lemon?
Well, I kind of predict that next week will be a very, very quick episode because it's about Quentin from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Who?
Exactly, who? Because I watched both movies, like the 2010 I watched on Saturday. I watched the original on Sunday. And I had to like rewatch part of the 2010 movies because after watching the original, I couldn't even put a face on Quentin.
I'm excited to hear more about Quentin. He sounds like a right hoot.
Why didn't they do the 1984 one with Johnny Depp as Glenn? Like, hello. I don't care about Nancy then. But Nancy should have been the survivor. I will talk about that next week.
We'll talk about that next week. As a reminder, we have a competition, a giveaway underway. This is your last warning for the competition. It's really, really, really easy to enter. All you need to do is go to our X, our Blue Sky, or now our Instagram. And what do they need to do, Lemon?
On X and Blue Sky, retweet our pinned post.
Mm-hmm.
But they need to make sure that the settings is not hiding if they are reposting a post, because then we can't see who did it. And on Instagram, they have to do a comment on the latest post that says giveaway, 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 and tell us who is their favorite survivor and favorite killer.
Cool. So yeah, dead straightforward, and it's one entry each. So if you do all three, that is 3 entries, and then we are going to pull a random name, which will be revealed next week.
Yes, on the podcast.
On the podcast. If you need links to all of those places, if you go to our website, beyondcampfire.com, it will have links to all of those and more podcast platforms and socials. Do you have a question for the listeners this week, Lemon?
I do. What is the weirdest place you have ever fallen asleep?
Ooh, and mine is kind of a follow-up to that.
Oh?
Do you have any funny nightmares that you can share with us? No traumatic nightmares. We don't want to hear about your trauma.
Oh.
But do you have any nightmares where, in retrospect, you've looked back and just gone, that was a bit strange and funny and, ha. So, yeah, tell us about your funny nightmares in the comments. And as everyone tries their absolute hardest not to fall asleep, remember, play safe out there and don't get hooked.